As an alternative to regular pizza crust, since we have a family member who is eating gluten-free, we're making a cauliflower crust for her. This is very easy to do. I took a whole head of cauliflower and took the stem off and just chopped it in somewhat even pieces. It really doesn't matter that much. And I placed all the cauliflower in a large resealable baggie, more like a freezer bag, and added olive oil. It doesn't take a whole lot, maybe 2 tablespoons, and some salt and pepper to taste, and just resealed it and topped it back up. And I've had it in the oven for 10 minutes now, and I'm just turning it to roast it. Roasting the cauliflower gives it a really nutty flavor. It takes away that raw taste. It's so good. So now we'll put it back in for another 10 minutes. The roasted cauliflower is now roasted, and see, some of them are golden brown. I'm just going to take them out of the oven now and let them cool.
Now I'm going to show you how to rice the cauliflower in the food processor. So we're putting in the cauliflower that was roasted in the oven. The roasting method might have been mentioned earlier. It ensures that all the moisture is cooked out of the cauliflower, so you don't have to wring that out, which makes the step a lot easier to work with. I'm going to get the food processor lid on, and we're going to pulse it just for a few seconds at a time until it gets kind of a coarse consistency. So if we look inside, you could see it looks like a beautiful rice texture. Now I'm going to add our binding ingredients. This is about 1/4 cup of egg substitute, or you could use 1 real egg if you want. I love to have cheese, and the cheese also helps bind the cauliflower in the crust. So this is about 1.5 cups of grated cheese. You can use any kind of grated cheese that you love. I did a mixed cheddar jack. And then I'm going to put a mixture of herbs just to give the crust a really nice flavor. So I put in about 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and oregano seasoning. You could do a mix of Italian seasonings if you want. So we're going to put the lid back on, and then we're just going to pulse it real quick to mix those ingredients in. Okay, now that we have our riced cauliflower with our binding ingredients mixed in, we're going to take this and put it on a cookie sheet that we sprayed with some nonstick cooking spray on the bottom and put parchment paper on top. And the parchment paper will keep the cauliflower crust from sticking to the cookie dough pan. And it also is very helpful during the baking process when you need to flip the crust. It'll make it a lot easier to flip the crust and also to move it onto a plate when it's done cooking, so you can cool it down. Left a little bit there. So this is enough to make 2 individual pizza serving crusts, or you can form it into 1 large crust. So you just take your hands and kind of squish it together. You'll notice it's really wet from the egg and the cheese, but that is going to cook it down. We want to get it to about, I'd say about 1/4 inch thickness. So I'm just going to spread this out with my fingers till it feels just about right on the thickness. And we'll also, we want to make the edges a tiny bit higher so it can kind of give us a little bit of a lip all the way around. Almost got it to where it feels the right thickness. I'm patting it out. And this is making a larger size pizza that 2 or 3 people can share and enjoy a nice meal. And then this will be ready to put into the oven, and we're going to pre-cook the cauliflower pizza crust to get it all cooked and firmed. And then when it's done cooking, we'll let it cool off to put the toppings on and cook it later. Alright, now that we have the crust ready to go, we're going to put it in our preheated oven at 450 degrees. We're going to let it bake for 15 to 20 minutes on one side. We just removed the cauliflower crust from the oven, and this is after 15 minutes of baking, so you'll see it's starting to brown. And this is the point where we want to flip the crust. It's a big crust, and I'll be honest with you, it's really hard for me to flip this with a spatula without breaking it. So what I found is that works well for me is I take another cookie sheet and put parchment paper on it. I lay it on top of the crust, and then I do a nice little flip to the other cookie sheet. So we got the parchment paper there. Just try to peel this off. Hopefully it doesn't stick. Ah, perfect. The parchment paper is coming off really nicely. So I was able to flip the crust. And now we're going to finish baking the crust on the other side. And we're going to bake it till it looks like it's almost burnt. Because the trick is you want to cook it really well to get the crust firm enough so you can pick it up and eat it with your fingers. All right, now we're going to take the pizza out of the oven. We baked the other side for an additional 15 minutes. You'll see that it's turned a nice dark brown color and the edges look almost burnt. Once this is cooled down, then we'll be able to put our sauce and our toppings on, and we'll put it back in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes to bake it until the cheese is all nicely melted and it will be ready to eat. Hopefully this is firm enough so we can pick it up and eat it with our hands. If not, we'll enjoy it with a fork. Now we're ready to put our sauce and toppings on. So first we're going to put the sauce on the crust. So you can use any tomato sauce that you want, or a little spaghetti sauce or marinara sauce will work too. So I'm just going to spread that tomato sauce around. Now we're going to sprinkle on the mozzarella cheese around the bottom. All right. We've got a mix of some salami and pepperoni we're going to put on, or you can put on really any toppings that you like. Nothing like a good combo. Okay, so I have the pepperoni on top. We're going to sprinkle some mushrooms. I'm going to put a few bell peppers. It'll add a nice color. I did the little mini bell peppers that I chopped up, and it really makes it colorful. And we're going to use some olives. So if you don't have black olives, you can do some Kalamata. And then we're going to finish off our toppings with that final sprinkling of cheese. Okay, we're going to put the cauliflower pizza crust pizza in the oven to finish off cooking the toppings. Probably we're going to start with 10 minutes and check it, and then we might go a little bit longer. But once the cheese is good and melted, it'll be ready to serve. Now our pizza should be done cooking. This looked like a beautiful low-carb, gluten-free cauliflower pizza crust. Okay, we're going to take it over here. Set it on an area to cool it off, and we'll slice it up. Use this pizza slicer. It's a little soft right now because it's really hot. So you might want to let it cool off a little more before you actually serve it.